I think I think people expecting that we're gonna do this are gonna be disappointed. I don't see that happening this side of August. I would say June, July, August were. You think one more low, Scapleth? Okay, interesting. I honestly wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me just to see something like this, like
I mean, for 110.
basically like that until September. I would be surprised if we got a definitive breakout or fake or shakeout, whatever you want to call it, breakout or breakdown, before like either end of Q3 or even Q4. I think that with the summer here, someone asked in the chat earlier, why are summers so choppy? The basic principle is that, there's just less volume. There are less market participants. Guys are on holidays. There are, you know, institutions that have guys off for 2, 3 weeks. They go to the fucking they go on holidays. They go to Martha's Vineyard and rent a boat, and they're not at their desks. So volume is usually lower, a little bit more choppy, a little bit more range bound. You can almost kind of go back to just last year for a good example of that, right? We had basically the chop continue. Now I know that the major catalyst for this breakout was in fact the Trump getting elected, right? I think that was effectively the catalyst for the move that brought us into this brought us from this range into our next range. But the fact remains that we still had, if you mark the summer here, the summer was basically, let's say May to September. This was basically the summer, just choppy, almost choppy downside PA. But I don't expect that we're going to see any strong moves this side of the summer. And I think guys expecting that, now that the now that the war has been quote unquote resolved, and I say resolved in with my tongue in my cheek, because obviously we saw Iran and Israel send bombs after the ceasefire had been agreed. So not much of a ceasefire. But yeah, I think guys were expecting that that's going to be the catalyst that's going to send us to new all-time highs. Might be a little bit disappointed. If anything, I think catalysts like this, when they occur, it's almost a return to the status quo. It was a mistranslation. Yeah, I told you guys. Trump was he thought he was talking to Iran. He was actually talking to Iraq, right? Isn't that it? Yeah, I think moves like this kind of return us to the status quo. And you look at what the price action was before the war news started breaking out, and it was it was the same. It was range bound PA. I think we're also in this kind of descending channel. This is something I highlighted in my channel last night. How I could totally see a situation where we sweep these highs, move up to the top of the channel, and then we kind of bonk our heads on that. Call it a trend line resistance if you want, and then move back down kind of to like 100K, 102K, something like that. But curious to know whether the other panelists, the other analysts have any other opinions on that, or whether they agree or disagree.
Yeah,
I'm the 110 Boltard.
I'm bearish. High time frame. Because I agree that we can get a parallel channel down to the downside, just like last summer, last year, kind of like what we had between March and October. However, we have to think about what catalysts we had this cycle. So the first all-time high, the 70K all-time high, was made because of the ETF catalyst. And then the next all-time high, the 100K one, in November last year was made because of Trump getting elected. And then the last all-time high at 112K was made because of, and not necessarily because of, but as a result of the postponement of tariffs. Right now, I don't see what catalyst we could have by the end of the year to make us go to a new all-time high around 130, 140K, which is something that a lot of people on Twitter have said that, oh no, the top of the cycle will be 140 to 150K, but I don't see anything on the table right now as a catalyst. Maybe something comes up, we never know what Trump is going to do next, but I just don't see anything. So I think if we do end up getting like a channel, a parallel channel that goes down, I think the ultimate direction that we get out of that channel will be down and kind of trend towards the end of the cycle by the end of the year. But I'd be happy to be wrong. I'd love to see BTC make a new all-time high, stabilize there, allow people to take profits, and then make altcoins run while BTC is ranging. That's the best case scenario, but I think it's less likely than what I said. Trend down and then break down from this parallel channel.
Nice. You guys can share your charts, by the way, if you want, rather than me have it.
Yeah.
Me trying to run through things.
I'll drop mine in chat, but I've kind of held the same view for the past couple months. I've talked about this a lot in charting class with the repetition of, or at least what we've seen over the last 2 cycles, and kind of looking for slightly diminishing returns. So if you look in voice chat, I just posted like the log chart of the past 2 cycles where it's like evident we've had at least 2 periods where it's been 35 months low to high of each cycle. We well exceeded the 4236 fib on the first one. The last cycle we topped at about the 3618. So I'd look for the 2618 around 155 in October. Still holding that bias until otherwise. I don't see any reason for us to not go up at least a bit more for potentially like a bearish 3 drives on like the weekly, and then from there kind of send things back lower. But I don't know. We'll see. I think in the next week or so, I'm still looking for like downside. We kind of front ran that PCZ on the harmonic that I was looking to trade. So I'd like to see a little bit lower, do like a proper fulfill of that weekly fair value gap, and then go up from there. But we did hit this 0.75, so you could argue that like the bot or the PCZ was hit and we reacted from it, which obviously like we had really nice upside. So I could see either just continued expansion from here to all-time high, and or a little bit lower below 100K. But I think the level to watch right now is $104,600. That's like the line in the sand for me for interim bias.
Nice. Jay, do you have a opinion on that?
Yeah. I think the only catalyst we need right now, it's normality.
You can share your screen if you want.
I mean, it's I posted, but I think I can. Bitcoin. Realistically, I really like how we cleared everything down here now and went for it twice, which is good. I like when we go for things twice inside big POIs, which was kind of the weekly FEG. And at this point, it was a monthly OB, if anyone was watching kind of a monthly breaker. So I don't want to lose that for a bullish case. Anything under is ugly. And yeah, just kind of time frame pairing as we usually do. We came into a weekly FEG. We swept. We closed inside. We flipped the H4. And as soon as we flipped the H4, we pumped $3,000 in an H4. This for me is confirmation. I'm looking for all-time high, in all honesty. I'm not looking for 130s. I'm just looking for a summer range. I'm just looking for summer range around here. I don't really want this to fall. I think if the market was to fall, it would have fallen with all the bullshit we had here. And we were super resilient versus this. So yeah, I still would love to come down to the 50s. I have that big bear case of coming down here to clear this like omega pump, and but this would be bear market case, bottom of the bear market, looking for shit here. In terms of just continuation of the year, I like all-time highs again. I think Q4 should be fun. As long as we have normality, we're okay. Tariffs are coming down. Powell will get fired or some bullshit. Then he just keeps saying everything's dumb. But I've heard from some people in chat that actually like actual bills on America are 25% to 30% cheaper. So inflation is down. And costs are down, even though maybe numbers don't relate it yet. That normally takes a while to come in.
Yes.
So yeah, kind of the bull case is this for me. We're in a bit of a delayed fuse moment of ending. Maybe the RN thing doesn't go much further. I wouldn't like it to go, honestly. I think it's very ugly if it does. I've been listening to some, conspiracy theories, and I think a war there wouldn't be good for anyone. But yeah, as long as normality comes, and I think Trump doesn't want to, end his life with a war on his paper. I don't think that's the goal for his presidency. I think it should be like end on a good feet. So yeah, I'm bull for everything. I think Nasdaq speaks a lot. Both Nasdaq and SPX are about to break all-time highs again. Nothing is bearish.
You think that happens soon? You think that happens like later in the year? You think that happens next quarter?
I think Q4 is the 150 run. If we keep here for summer, Q4 is the 150 run.
Do you think we might get a summer of chop as well?
Yeah, like we go to 110, 112, but we don't have liquidity to go more. We just
No.
Yeah.
maybe come down, come back to the medium, come back to 1.5s, dig for more. But yeah, I'm looking for just a fake out of maybe the downwards channel you had. Yeah, just a fake out of that. Maybe take this 110s. Everyone longs thinking it's all-time high. They get trapped again in the middle. Summer is shitty as usual, but it's a big range, right? We're trading at 12K range for summer. I wish we had that the last years.
I agree with that. Nothing points up, but we did get a reaction from key levels. So the possibility of up exists, but the structure, like you say, is suggestive that we could get another wave down, right? Exactly.
You're always short.
I think we got Pikachu highs. That's kind of what I'm looking at. Take them out, then we can go for 95.
We do have
Maybe.
Pikachu highs. I just don't know. Do
Take
we
this
have
shit.
the liquidity
this
to
bullshit.
retire?
Well, you know how high moves go. This takes 3 days. This takes 3 days. 3 days of good news, and we're there. Look at what we did last night. We pumped like fucking 7K.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Um,
was I mean, both ways was a big move.
To kind of add to my bearish bias right here. If you guys look at my screen that I've just shared, it's something that I've looked at for a while now, the weekly and monthly chart. Of course, I'm not such a high time frame trader, and history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. So what I was looking at is the monthly SFPs of all the all-time highs. So if we compare the 2021 cycle with this cycle, they look really similar in the sense that here we get the first all-time high SFP, then we drop to a monthly fair value gap, then we go back up, 2 consecutive monthly SFPs of the all-time high, and then the bear market comes. Now this time around, we had the first monthly SFP, just like right here. We dropped to the monthly fair value gap, which had exactly like here 3 nice wicks. Of course, there is a difference because this monthly fair value gap was smaller. This one was wider. Here the lows were higher lows. Here the lows were lower lows. But anyway, then you go back up. Here it took a little bit longer because it was the summer. Now it happened before the summer. And then you SFP the all-time high twice, 2 months in a row, and then the bear market is in. Now, of course, the context is different because now we're going into the summer, but we still got 2 monthly SFPs in a row. So yeah, I don't know. It looks similar. Of course, I don't think it's the same. But the important level to look at right now is this monthly fair value gap that will be created in 6 days because we're almost done with June. And when July comes in, this will be a monthly fair value gap. So if we go on the weekly, again, it looks pretty similar as last cycle. Here again, SFP the all-time high, drop, SFP the all-time high, drop, then go back, another SFP, and then another SFP, and then we drop. Here another SFP like 3 weeks in a row, then we drop. Even right here, if you look at this all-time high, when it was SFP'd right here, then we did drop, and then it acted as resistance. Basically, what I'm saying is that all-time highs tend to act as a resistance, and unless you get a clear breakthrough it with a weekly close above it or a monthly close above it, it's something that you have to keep in mind. Just like Tim said, these key levels give good plays. So now, yeah, we have this monthly fair value gap. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have like a parallel channel like this, and then we bang our head against it, and then we go to the monthly fair value gap, and then we bounce from it, and who knows what happens next. But yeah, these SFPs on high time frame is something that I wanted to bring your lads
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at as well. I don't know. I do think there's a reasonable chance that BTC trades higher later in the year, but I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. Yeah, I don't see it happening in Q2 or Q3. I know there's only a week left of Q2, so probably
I
not
have
going
a
to happen there.
correlation question.
Sure.
Like
Go
Do you
for it.
guys
scenario,
think
yeah.
do you guys think we're fake breaking down on the dollar? Because
What
if
do you
we
mean?
are breaking down on the dollar, I'm bullish on everything else.
On Dixie, you mean?
It's
Yeah,
a
I've
do
been
or
looking
die
at
level for
Dixie
me.
for weeks. This is
Mhm.
It's a
kind
do
of
or die level for
also
me.
part of everything.
So go ahead, Purdue.
The dollar for me is at do or die level at the moment. So I don't know. It's a major. Yeah, for sure. But it's
It looks like it's breaking down from this range that it has been in since 2022, basically.
yeah, it's at that 97.7 level for the dollars. Like actually the last weekly support level for me. If it breaks down from there, it's like goodbye,
Yeah,
basically.
but maybe we can do something like this. Yeah, the team is pretty split. Some people think a new all-time high. I don't think we make a new all-time high. It's interesting to see these different biases.
How do you think altcoins hold up, and what potential paths, let's say, do you see for the alt market going into the rest of the year?
Personally, I've spoken about this on my stream today and yesterday. The only possibility I see for altcoins to have an altcoin season is if BTC makes a really clean new all-time high between 1010 and 120, and then it starts ranging there. Because right now, due to the war in the Middle East, we are in a risk-off environment, which is why indices and QES are closer to an all-time high than BTC. Which means that people would rather invest into safer assets like indices, maybe BTC, but less altcoins. But if the environment shifts and we are in a risk-on environment and then BTC pumps, then we can start discussing about altcoins potentially having a run. But that's only going to happen if BTC starts ranging, which allows people that were long on BTC to take profits and rotate them into altcoins. But if BTC pumps to a new all-time high and then we get a quick dump downwards, just like we had between January and April, less people will be able to take profits from BTC. They will rather get stopped out or close with less profits. So then there is less money to flow into altcoins, which is not going to lead to an altcoin season. And I mean, BTC dominance has been going up for 3 years now. And just statistically speaking, I don't want to bet against something that has been going up for 3 years.
I have an interesting take that might be a good topic of conversation here. Do you guys think that we will ever have an altcoin season like we did previously in 2017 and 2020, 2021, due to the sheer influx of how many different pairs are tradable on the market?
That's another good reason. Also, I think people have gotten smarter in a sense. I mean, you still see crazy shit like Mudang and other meme coins make multiple X. But at the same time, I think people got smarter, so they know the risks of investing heavy amounts of money in such altcoins. Like you said, we have 100 times more altcoins to invest in right now, which means that the volume available for each coin is diminished. Always made a good post about this like 1 month or 2 months ago.
I respectfully disagree that people got smarter. People are still dumb as fuck. Like for every winner, there's a loser in the market. So
I think
Yeah.
people got more jaded and cynical, actually. I think that if you look at the market now, compare like just general market sentiment, I'm not even talking about crypto Twitter because that's its own thing, but just like general market sentiment, the projects that are being backed, let's say the capital that's being put into the ecosystem, and just like what is happening in crypto on like a high level, I think that it's much more cynical now, much more jaded, compared to like 2021 or even 2017. I wasn't around in 2017, but back then it was, apparently the catalyst for that bull run was ICOs, and it was venture capital, flooding into crypto. Crypto was this new and exciting thing. I think back then there was something like, was it 500 coins or something like that, or something like less than 1,000 coins, and then 2021 came around, and that was, peak euphoria. I think most of that cycle, I think, or at least a lot of the bullish catalyst behind that cycle was, NFTs and people just getting very excited about digital JPEGs. And like there was still a lot of optimism. I remember trading in 2021. It really felt like, I don't know, it was like, things had changed. BTC was no longer kind of fringe. It was really becoming mainstream. Mass adoption was a massive thing. And if you look at what's happened since then, obviously we had Luna, we had FTX, right? Kind of back in, 22. We had Voyager, we had Celsius, we had the celebrity grift meta, which, like, how damaging was that for the industry? We had Trump and his wife launch their own tokens. We had Javier, what's his name, the president of Argentina, launch his own token, which just was a complete shit show. We've just had mass extraction event after mass extraction event with no real money going into the ecosystem, or no real, let's say no real hope being injected into the ecosystem with regards to like kind of the future of crypto and where it's going to go. Now, I'm still like high time frame bullish, but I think there's been a sentiment shift over the last 3-4 years that can't be discounted. And when people say, oh, just wait for retail to come back, retail's going to buy our bags, right? People have been saying that for 2 years now. And if you look at Google search analytics for things like crypto, Bitcoin, BTC, those results are like bear market lows, which is crazy. And I think it's indicative of a wider systemic thing, which is that people aren't as excited about crypto now, even with BTC at like BTC's trading at 100K for most of the last few months. Like, how crazy is that? That was such a pipe dream for so long. Now it's been realized, and instead of this massive influx of retail traders and mass adoption like we thought we would get, we got these series of mass extraction events and guys just trying to siphon money out of the ecosystem. And that has resulted in, I think Victor and Jonesy were just talking about sophistication of market participant. I'm not sure that market participants are any more sophisticated yet at the moment, but they're definitely more jaded and more cynical compared to past cycles.
For sure.
And I think
For sure.
to add on to that, like, I feel like most people's view on crypto, like if you ask like the general person, is probably net negative. Like, people think it's almost like silly, fake internet money, which at the end of the day, it's just magical internet beans, whatever. But I think, like, I know people have lost money due to scams. There's been like people get shilled stuff and they buy it and then they get dumped on. So it's like, I feel like for people who aren't actively in the space trading for multiple years, dealing, like fighting it out in the trenches, like a majority of people are just like, they get in, they get fucked over, and they're like, all right, I'm done. I'm not doing this again. So,
Well, it's definitely still the wild west of financial markets, right? 100%. So there's still a lot of room to grow. You can still get fucking rich beyond your wildest dreams in crypto, but I think you have to be much more selective until we have a catalyst specifically for altcoins that would propel it upwards, right? Until we get that catalyst, everything is basically just narrative driven until then. And you have to be aware enough of the narrative to get in at the right time, or you don't have the same opportunity you did in previous cycles.
Yeah, I really like that, Tim, the Wild West of finance. And I was just typing it in the chat, but I'll say it. I genuinely, I've been keeping so many mementos of like, just like my time in crypto and like, stuff that I've posted or stuff that I've encountered, because I do think that, in 20 years, the crypto landscape will be very, very different. I presume that there'll be much more regulation. I presume that things will be a little bit less exciting. And by exciting, I mean, there'll be it'll be a little bit more attuned to traditional finance in the sense of, having laws and regulations and probably standards and procedures and things of that nature, licenses. But I do think that it's such a it feels like we're really at the forefront of something, and in 20 years time we'll look back, we'll tell our kids about this, we'll be like, oh yeah, you know, we were trading this digital asset class of completely imaginary internet money, you know, and it was like tulip mania every week, and you know, the JPEGs were being sold for millions and millions of dollars, and you know, crypto founders were assigning valuations to companies that had no working product or no working project in the billions of dollars. And you know, we were trading that and we were navigating those markets. I do think that it's something we will look back on and laugh at how ridiculous these times were.
I do that now.
I literally told my friends that I was long Fartcoin a few weeks ago, and they were like, they just thought that was hilarious, and I was like, man, that's so normal. Like that's
yeah.
it can get so much worse. Like,
It's amazing what we've normalized just from existing in this space for this long. It's all normal to us, but then when you try to put it into words to like your family or friends, they're like, what the hell are you talking about, dude?
it truly is.
Like,
So like something we just spoke about there is kind of like alt season and the potential for an alt season. What do you guys see as the possibilities for altcoins going into the remainder of the year and even beyond? Like, do you think that there are pathways where we get kind of this crazy run on alts? Do you think that something needs to happen in the macro first?
Now, I'm sure if we hit like, crazy highs, that things will start to pop off. But I think in the way that I think it sort of lulled us into a false sense of security, that 2021 like alt season, and now first expect it again. I think something will come, but will it come in that same kind of way? Maybe not. Maybe it will just be like the select few memes that will just skyrocket, and the select few like dinosaur coins and actual DeFi coins and whatever that will also skyrocket. I think that's something that I'm slowly starting to believe, basically, because it's not something I did think before. Like last year, I thought, well, listen, blow off top will come, and then afterwards, alt season will happen, everything will go up. But now, I'm not so sure. I've realized now that look at, for example, and I'll wrap up because I'm talking for a while, but look at like even some of the DeFi coins like Link and Dot and etc. Right, when we were at 74K, those things were at like not far from where they are now. To be honest with you, they're at like what, $10, $12, $3 for Dot, and now they're not actually that far off. And Bitcoin's at 100 and what now? 104, 105, 105. So it's it's a very difficult market to navigate. This is the hardest I've ever seen the market in terms of navigating for even just holding and waiting for stuff to go up.
Yeah, I completely agree. Something you touched on there, you know, is like 2021 maybe teaching people bad lessons, and I've seen that so much with, particularly with like traders who have been around for a while, like guys who for many this might be their third cycle and they're just getting destroyed. I know so many what you might call OG traders who have not made a fucking cent from trading in the last year or two, right? Maybe they're making money from other means. Many of them have hundreds of thousands of followers, or so I'm sure they are. But guys just can't adapt to these market conditions. And in many cases, it's because they learned terrible lessons in 2021. Something I've spoken about in my channel a few times is how 2021, that the big lesson from 2021 was like, hold your bags because eventually everything will fly, right? And that's such a terrible lesson to have adopted, at least for this kind of first 2 or 3 years of this cycle, right? Let's say from kind of like 2023, 24, 25. In a lot of cases, right, coins have either round tripped huge moves, or you know, they've either done that, or in many cases they're just down.
Everyone wanted to be better than those guys that made money in 2021 so that they make money this time. And the people that have progressed and became better since then, those were the guys that profited and not the guys that were doing the same thing. So you always have to evolve and be better, no matter if you're talking about year-to-year improvement or cycle to cycle. And that's why, basically what guys did in 2021 is not working right now, together with other factors that I've already mentioned as to why this cycle was dominated by BTC, of course.
and I do think also if when QE does come, I'm sure it will give us a big boost. But obviously, QE in itself is kind of inherently bearish, right? In the sense that it will probably signal the end of the coming end of the bull market, if not like the top. So like that, well, at least that's what I understand. Maybe some people might understand it to be different and disagree, and that's I'm happy to be educated, but that's what I understand it to technically be, is that QE comes, and usually from there, whether you've got a couple of months or however long, you've not got too much longer left. So there's going to be a time to make money on alts, but will you have that long? I mean, even if you think about alt season in 2021 as well, I think it only really got extended because they kept printing money at that time. But even that's unprecedented. So it's like thinking about those type of market and um, like just conditions that was happening, basically geopolitical conditions. It was very, very different to like now, right? Like if and when they do QE, it's not going to be the same as when they just constantly just like printing and printing and printing and printing and printing. They'll probably, I'm sure they'll print, but will it be to the same degree? No. So will we get that same effect like one to one? No, probably not.
Yeah, I agree with this. You also spoke about meme coins, so I want to hear the opinions of anyone, but mainly the guys in the team and anyone else that has an opinion about meme coins, because at first I hated meme coins because I thought that they are such a pest for the market in general because they suck up liquidity from other decent projects that actually do something. But then I actually thought about it and I saw that many retail traders come into the market by being exposed to meme coins, because I was one of them. And then they move to more serious projects. So maybe that's a positive of it. I want to hear what my fellow colleagues have to say about meme coins. Are they good or bad for the market?
I mean, meme coins it's like people saying like, oh, they don't contribute anything. It's like, motherfucker, like half the majority of altcoins are just vaporware Ponzi schemes with no discernible project or even like they don't really do anything, or it's all just promises. Like the most bullish thesis in crypto is just empty promises that never even come close to fruition. The most bullish catalyst in crypto is just a never-ending series of promises that escalate hype continuously without ever actually releasing anything or doing anything or contributing anything to the space, right? That is the best way to make sure that your project is always maximum hype and maximum generating interest and creating mind share, is just to continuously hype it up, right? But then you have, it's almost in a way like that's almost like deception, and like, you know, these fucking altcoin projects are like tricking people into thinking that there's something actually happening behind the scenes when in many cases there isn't. At least with fucking meme coins, they're usually pretty blatant about it. It's like, this is a joke coin. We're not doing it. There's no, you know, we're not trying to achieve anything, right? It's just a fucking joke. And like, that's if you look at like coins, like I'm trying to think of like the meme coins that have dominated mindshare the most in the last, you know, couple of years. It's been like coins like Fartcoin, coins like Pepe. In many ways, they're the most honest of all the projects because you know what you're getting into. It's just dog shit Ponzi scheme, musical chairs, make money and get out before you get rugged, right? And there's no, they're not trying to trick you into thinking that it's anything else. I think with a lot of these altcoin projects, they're doing the exact fucking same thing, but they're saying things like, oh, synergy and ecosystem, and shut the fuck up. That's you're just the exact same. You're just promising things that don't exist, right? It's like, at least with meme coins, they're pretty upfront about the fact that they're vaporware. So I think in that sense, I don't know. I've kind of come around full circle where it's like, of course you can say like back in the day when like I think back in the 2021 cycle when people look at Dogecoin, it really was ridiculous. Like, oh, like this is the coin that does nothing. It's just that. But actually, since then, like you kind of realize after you've been in crypto for a while that majority of majority of crypto coins are exactly like that. They're no different. The only difference with Doge is that it doesn't promise anything, doesn't promise to be anything that it's not. So I don't know. I think coins like I'm looking here my list. I'm just seeing like Fartcoin, Pepe, you know, Shiba, Floki. Bang me some other memes in the chat there, but those
Bonk.
but
Oh,
Bonk,
both.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm looking here at Buttcoin. I mean, like coins like that, they're not really. In many ways, they're the most honest of all the coins, right? Because they're NPC. They're not pretending to be something they aren't. So I don't know. I don't have a negative opinion on them. I think people saying that that meme coins are dead, like the meme coin super cycle is dead. I think that's usually premature, right? Like even looking at this buyback from SPX should tell you all you need to know about that, right? Shit is up nearly 50% in a few days. Just fucking wild. Yeah, in 2 days. Man, these coins are fucking nuts. But I don't know. I feel like once you know what you're getting into, there's no difference trading meme coins to trading anything else in crypto, as long as you're aware that as long as you're aware that they're just Ponzi's.
Everything's a Ponzi.
Everything is a Ponzi. Exactly.
Except the BTC, because BTC is the only true coin. Nah, I totally agree. And the nice thing about meme coins is that everyone knows that they do nothing, but they give really high returns, which means that people buy them expecting to make money, which makes the price go higher. So more people buy it. It's like this never-ending circle of people buying the FOMO because it's a meme coin and it will go up.
Yeah, effectively. I don't know. So how do you guys see? And this is an open question. This goes out to team and members. Something that just to go back to that kind of alt season thing. Not even talking about an alt season specifically, but how do you see altcoins going into the remainder of the year? I know we kind of asked this already, but we got sidetracked pretty quickly. I want to talk about charts like BTC dominance, right? If I could find my BTC dominance chart. I want to talk about charts like, we touched on ETH BTC here. Like, do people see, is there a top in sight for BTC dominance? Is it going to be something that reverses? Are we going to see a reversal this cycle? Like, you guys might remember I shared this in my channel recently. Are we going to see another half a year of upside, and then we're going to hit the 70% level and then reject? Like, how do people see alts going into next year? Is there a top in sight? Are we going to get an alt run, even if it is different to previous cycles? Whose mic is unmuted? Mason Mez, naughty. This is an open question, by the way. Anyone, members or team members?
I want to hear Purdue's opinion because he's the altcoin master.
think
If he's, yeah, he's there.
yeah, I'm here. Yeah, this actually goes back to the question the answer that Tim already gave. Like every day we have more and more altcoins, so you have to be really picky with your choices. But I still think we have these isolated trends where altcoins perform, and people still have faith in some of these coins. They're all vaporware, but some brands or some companies are just better in building something to believe in, like for example Syrup or Arrow or the AI agents. You have these isolated trends with altcoins. I don't think LTC will ever make new all-time highs. I'm sorry to say that, Kane, but for example, all these 2018 coins will never make all-time highs because that was like the 2018 bubble, just like we saw the AI agents bubble back in when was it? November or December?
Yeah, December,
Yeah.
January.
Yeah, and all these new narratives will keep on forming. I don't know what the next narrative is going to be. Like we saw the stablecoin narrative. Like every quarter, you have these nice narratives to work with. So I think still, if you're like informed and you do your research and you can pick out the cherries between all the trash, I still think you can really have nice narratives forming in some isolated altcoin seasons. Just like you have with stocks, basically. Like when a pharmacy company, the rumors goes that it makes a new medicine for, I don't know, let's say cancer. You see the chart go bonkers because people buy the rumor, and the chart will run 30-40%. It's the same with fundamental analysis on altcoins. So yeah, I still think you have these mini altcoin seasons that we just saw.
Large caps like Solana, Link, Dot, you get big Ethereum, you get coins like that doing like +6, +8, +10% in a day, and those are sometimes some of the most easiest trades because as long as like BTC doesn't reject, you're fine. But what's actually happening at least kind of the last few times we put in a new all-time high here, right? Even going back a year ago, is that we actually get, we get a run on the highs followed by either downside, downside chop, or pretty harsh downside rejection. And it actually, instead of creating a stable platform for altcoins, what it does is it creates uncertainty, and people are less likely to go risk on, and less likely to our bags are less likely to send as a consequence. So I don't know. I think I want to make a longer form post about it in my channel in terms of like how I see the altcoin market going into the rest of the year. But for sure, I think the bull case, or the best outcome for our bags, I think for sure BTC needs to put in a new high, and it needs to start creating value at the highs. Like it needs to do something like this, maybe even like a kind of a ascending channel type PA, which we've seen a few times before. That's usually extremely good for alts. I'm not convinced about this descending channels thing. Like I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, this would be so bullish for our altcoin bags. They would all send." And I'm like, I don't know. Is that the case? Like that has not been the case previously when we've had these kind of descending channels and BTC looks a bit dodgy. In fact, it's been the opposite. Especially with BTC dominance doing what it's doing. I think in order for us to get, like, let's say, I don't want to say alt season because it's just a loaded term, but let's say a proper alt run, I think BTC needs to put in a new high. It needs to create value at the highs, and BTC dominance needs to top out. And by topping out, I don't just mean putting in a new low like this. It needs to actually put in structure to the downside. And how are you finding trading at the moment, just in general, especially in light of the headline risk that's been in the market this month, with the situation between Iran and Israel? Have you had to adjust?
I find it really noisy at the moment, because actually, if you just look at the charts and cut the noise, it was a pretty obvious long like yesterday, but I got stopped out on syrup, for example. It's just so much noise, man. I opened the chat and I see news headline after news headline. It really gets me distracted of all the good looking setups actually yesterday, because, for example, hype here, if you look at it like really plainly on a daily basis, this has been your support level, and it almost retested it after that nuke. I think it's still holding the nice uptrend here on the daily chart, as we didn't broke structure. We held these lows over here, and basically this could be your double bottom here, and we absolutely got sent again. So I think it's super noisy at the moment, and it's very, very annoying, all the news headlines. Not even from a trading perspective, but just, yeah, it's just, what is the advantage of reading all that news? Like for who? If you're like a trader, what is the advantage of reading all that news? I just don't get it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's been a difficult market to trade, in my opinion. It's been swing trading has been very difficult, almost impossible for me. Lots of round trips and lots of really nice setups getting invalidated.
Exactly. Yeah.
Scalping has been much easier. My intraday trading has been much better, but yeah, even that has been a little bit sweaty sometimes. I just think that when you're trading at the whim of news headlines, you really need to adapt and play things much more aggressively. Like you need to be in and out of positions much quicker. You need to be very aggressive about managing your downside and taking care of your upside as well, or you'll just get blown out. You'll get frustrated. You'll get chopped to pieces, and yeah, it's never a nice situation to be in. But hopefully, looking forward to some better conditions once this situation resolves. I know that's a big if. We had a we had a ceasefire last night that got invalidated by both sides within a matter of hours, which is its own level of hilarity. But yeah, I think we're going to call it there. We're coming up on an hour and 20 minutes now, which is slightly over schedule, but no worries at all. I want to thank all the panelists, all the analysts, all the speakers, and everyone who joined in the conversation, whether you were just talking in the chat or speaking in voice. We're going to do another one of these next week. So yeah, if you guys have any subjects that you want us to talk about, any topics you wanted us to cover, any educational concepts you want us to go over, any geopolitical expert opinions you want, just let us know. The best channel for that is probably suggestions and ideas. That's probably the best one because I'll see it. Tag me, tag whoever you want. We're happy. This is your time. You know, as I always say, we're here for you guys. I want to make sure that you're getting the maximum value for your membership and the maximum value for your time, because time is precious and I don't want to waste your time by, you know, running over stuff that's not useful for you or not valuable for you. So if there's stuff that you want us to run over, you know, I'm fucking happy to do that. If there are things that we're doing on these calls that you really like, let us know. If there are things we're doing on these calls that you don't like, let us know. We're happy to update and adapt. But yeah, this was a fun one. I think we hit like pretty close to Discord stream all-time high for us, which I think I saw 65 or 66, almost 70 people, which is pretty cool. That's awesome. So yeah, we're gonna call it there. Have a great rest of your day. There's a bunch of other stuff planned for the week. Obviously, you can check out the schedule in announcements for that. And yeah, we'll be back next week with another crypto market roundtable. Until then, guys, stay safe. Have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.